Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Paul. How's it going?
Very good, my friend. We are here to talk about Gran Turismo GT to the people who play the game and the GT badge on the back of a lot of cars. So this is going to be a car-heavy episode, which you would think would be perfect for me. But actually, because this is the Gran Turismo movie, it's going to be perfect for everybody. Because it crosses over between a real-life underdog story to a video game movie to a racing movie to a movie that is going to have a few surprises that we'll mention along the way. There are people in this cast that you probably haven't realized are in this cast. So Paul, I'm really, really excited to talk about this. Can we give a little shout out, because we got to see this at the Irish premiere?
Yeah, so because we'd like to shout out a couple of people. First of all, thank you, Stephen, friend of the show, who helped us out with getting the tickets.
Thank you so much.
He has a lot of podcasts, which you can find on wherever you get podcasts. There'll be links in the description below, which goes stuff like Disney Nightmare stuff, which is like, you know, the evil dark side of Disney. Not in the sense of like the company, but the movies, as in looking at the movies through an eye of a horror lens kind of thing, which is very fun. I did an episode with him about Bolt. So yeah, thank you very much, and of course thank you very much to Sony Pictures Ireland also for the premiere, and thank you very much for Cineplex or Cineworld, which
those lovely people.
Yeah, in Dublin. So thank you very much.
For those of you watching the screen right now, we'll see a little bit of B-roll that was badly shot on a shaky phone while Paul and I were drinking a free drink at the. Thank you very much, Sony, for the free popcorn and the free liquids. And just to prove it was us, Paul, there was a little flash of you at the start there waving at the camera.
Yeah. There was we were rubbing elbows with people.
Yes, apparently there were YouTubers and TikTokers and all sorts of real social people there, and then there was a big car nerd and a big gaming nerd and a big pair of YouTube nerds, the two of us. So it was a lot of fun. But Paul, we can't bury the lead on this. Quick hello to everybody watching. Get yourselves involved in the chat. Want to hear what you're excited for, what you're not excited for. But before we go into a quick review of the movie and what it's all about, I just want to point out, Paul, this year is quite unique insofar as there have been $2 billion movies related to, let's say, toys / games / that, you know, entertainment crossover end of things. So Mario Brothers came along and surprised the world by making all of the monies. And then Barbie came along and didn't surprise the world. There was a lot of expectation as to how it would go thanks to the Barbenheimer thing, and it has also crossed the $1 billion mark. So good year for video game and toy movies.
Well, like not only movies, Last of Us, the TV series also.
TV series too.
You know?
And so Sony have a Twisted Metal TV series, which you told me about, which I had no idea about. So everybody, there you go. That's one that skipped me by.
I watched the entire series in a day.
So binge watching is alive and well, Paul. That's good. So this is Sony's chance to get its big property in. So if Mario is the biggest thing Nintendo have, Gran Turismo has to be one of the biggest things Sony from the PlayStation brand has. It's a huge part of my life. It's a huge part of because gaming isn't, but Gran Turismo still is. That's the weird thing. Gran Turismo for car people, we all have a long memory of when you got your first Gran Turismo, when you got to play your first Gran Turismo, because one thing's for sure, we were driving cars that we thought we'd never get to drive in real life. In my case, still haven't got to drive most of them in real life. I've been lucky enough to get behind the wheel of one or two cool things, but Gran Turismo, next level. And that's where this kind of movie really does do itself a lot of justice. I've just put a guy called Jann Mardenborough on screen. He's a real guy. And this movie is actually not called Gran Turismo. It's called Gran Turismo : a real racing story or something like that, or based on a true story. It's because Jann Mardenborough is a real guy. That's the star of the show. Now, he doesn't play himself. A guy called Archie Madekwe plays him and plays him well. We'll cover that in a few minutes. But for anybody who's on the fence, they don't like racing, they don't like games, they don't like anything else. Do you like real life underdog stories? Because this is definitely one of those.
Yeah, like it's definitely a rags not a rags to riches story kind of thing, but a a person who like feels like they don't belong in the racing kind of scene, which goes proving everybody wrong, which goes and kind of succeeding. So like it's a good story. I didn't know much about Jann myself, so like that was a good kind of I went in fresh. There's some trailer stuff that Patrick was telling me about, which I have seen after the movie, which I will comment about later on. But yeah, no, it's a good kind of aspiring kind of underdog story, which is of a person getting their chance.
Yeah, dream comes true stuff. And as somebody who bought the first PlayStation and first Gran Turismo, and the reason I bought the PlayStation was because of Gran Turismo, when GT Academy came along, and here's a few of the real, this is based on a real story, so not everything is actually accurate. There were multiple champions who came out of the GT Academy, which is what the gamer competition to go on to try and race real cars. Jann Mardenborough wasn't the first, and in fact, it's debatable whether or not he's even the most successful technically, but he's definitely one with a very interesting story. So all of the liberties they took, I could completely understand, up to and including, Paul, the racetracks where I was like, that's not the final corner in Le Mans. And,
yeah.
And you found out where they shot it, and I'm like, that's exactly what that last corner is.
I have to say, watching it with Patrick, who has an encyclopedic knowledge of racetracks that they had, like literally the first racetrack. Now, not a spoiler, but the first racetrack, he was literally just like, "That's not a racetrack," and it was just like, "Oh, okay," And then at the race at Le Mans at some point, which is in the movie, and he was just like, "That's not the last corner of Le Mans." And the only reason that I slightly, when he said that, I was like, "Oh yeah," is because of Ford v Ferrari.
There you go.
So like, but yeah, it was interesting to watch it with such a car kind of a nerd, car nerd kind of person. So
I wear it proud. But you know what else we are, Paul? We're film nerds. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start by saying, before we go into the plot of the characters, let's talk about one Neill Blomkamp. Blomkamp. I always mess up his name. Neill Blomkamp is best known to most people for the guy who had the big breakout movie District 9. Yeah. The guy has never met an exoskeleton he didn't like. He did Elysium. He did Chappie. He had a string of really, well, we both enjoyed Elysium. Not everybody did. I thought Chappie was okay. It wasn't my favorite. District 9 I still have on my, it's on my list of all-time greats. I think it's a wonderful movie. So this is a guy with talent.
Yeah, he was even going to possibly do an Alien movie that followed on from the Aliens movie,
which Sigourney Weaver was up for.
cut the tail off at Aliens 3, and then introduce new aliens, kind of and split off the timelines.
A little aside, can I say, just for everybody on the planet, that's what we really wanted, and because it was Neill Blomkamp, we were really excited at the time. Thanks, Ridley Scott, for Prometheus and all the stuff that I really hated. But there is an alternate timeline somewhere where that happened, Paul, and we're having a very different YouTube show.
Yeah. We're just like the Neill Blomkamp guy, the guy who did Aliens 3. Yeah. But yeah, so Neill Blomkamp, he decided to take on this movie, which is he states he's quoted to say that he took it on for 3 reasons, which is there's the awe-inspiring quality of the story, which was the primary reason. A script that's real-world story that organically ties into a video game which I've never seen before was another reason, and the cars, which I thought you would like as well.
Good man. Good man. Well, look, Neill Blomkamp, not all his movies are great, from what I hear, because I kind of dropped off after Chappie, and apparently he's had a few duds since then that I just haven't watched because I heard they weren't great. But is this a full return to form? I'll enjoy this review to find out, everybody. And also, let us know in the comments. Have you ever played Gran Turismo, and do you get the idea behind the dream of playing a video game, any video game, be it racing or FIFA, which is very popular in Europe as a football game, very popular around the world, or NBA 2K or any of these things, and having that game become your way into doing it for real? Like, let me know in the comments now if you name the game that you thought, I wish I could use this to make my way into the real life version of this.
It's not a good idea to put Dead Space, which is the first game that came to my head.
I was
Don't
just
go
about
to
to
that
say you're
world.
going to pick a
It's
horror
awful. Yeah.
Yeah, but you would have all the guns. You would come in cheat coding, ready to go. So Paul, the plot, to quickly kick it off, to really just get through this, it is based on a true story. Young guy, Jann Mardenborough, Jann, gets himself, he's at home, he's playing PlayStation, he's working a job to pay for his PlayStation add-ons and his, like, racing wheel and a good seat and all that kind of stuff.
His rig, yeah.
His rig, exactly, his sim rig. And he finds out that, okay, there's actually this GT Academy, there's this competition that's going to be run where if you're fast enough, you will get to go in real life to this racing academy, compete against other sim racers. And if you're good enough, you'll be picked to go and race for Nissan in one of their GT cars, which is exactly what happened in real life. So far, very good. Now, he isn't the first ever champion, so they kind of mess around with some timeline, etc., etc. But still, it actually portrayed, I thought that was an enjoyable part of the movie for me, up to the point that it was a little bit rushed. I could have done with more of that Rocky building him up time, because they went through the exercise. They had the whole kind of, these guys are gamers, they're all getting off a couch, how will they ever survive the G-force of a car?
Yeah, the family stuff, kind of his family not kind of fully supporting him in his kind of dream to become a full on racing driver, and all he does is use Gran Turismo kind of thing, was a very interesting part. And then the physicality of translating from sim to real life was not done that well. I do think that they could have played that up a little bit more, training, a little bit more kind of. Now they do a lot of training. They do try to show you the difference between kind of like what it takes to be a racer and what it takes to be kind of a sim racer, which is good, but not enough. And
it's one of the things that I'm sure we're going to get to. One of the problems the film has is that it tries to cram an awful lot into I was going to say a relatively short space of time. It's actually, it's a 2 hours plus movie, but they do stuff it full of stuff, so they have to. Let's just say they shortchange some of the relationships, and some of the family relationships and dynamic in particular are a little bit shoved in and not fully served as plot lines.
Yeah, it gets jumped around a lot.
Yeah,
kind of thing. You can definitely also, this adheres strictly to the hero's journey.
Very much so.
Kind of thing. Like you can definitely, like you can taste kind of the moments of the hero's journey. You're just like, there it is,
So Paul, we've got Jann Archie Medekwe, our lead at the academy, doing well. Obviously, everybody knows, if you watch the trailer or that they're not doing an underdog story where the underdog doesn't make it. You see it all coming. He's not going to fail. But what you don't know is what they're going to do next. And they do go on to tell the story of him having successes and failures, and one stunningly, how should I put this, impactful section of the movie, which is based on something that happened in real life. And Paul, I don't think we'll spoil it, but let's just say there is a moment in this film where the filmmaking is elevated, where it needs to be elevated, because the story becomes so much more serious. But then you're back down to a crash with a pantomime villain in a gold Lamborghini. It couldn't be more pantomime. And the underdog wins in the end.
Yeah, there's an epic, like 30-minute kind of moment in this film that's really, really good. Like, very heartfelt. The chemistry between certain characters, which we'll get into, because like it really comes through even more, kind of thing, which leads on to even further when we go into the kind of the last part of the film. So like, it's sad to see that so late on in the movie, because it really kind of goes, oh, there's a really cool movie, and you've just walked through essentially the first half, which is not great.
And the acting is elevated, like everything is elevated for that section of the movie. Everybody starts acting better. Everything is paced better. It's taken more seriously, and it is like, well, they couldn't mess around with it, and they didn't. whereas it made me feel like, well, you maybe rushed and messed around with the rest of the film. But Paul, can we give? I'll tell you what. Let's give props to the lead first, young Archie Madekwe, who
Yeah.
weirdly, it's like, from what I've heard, he did an awful lot of the in-car work himself. He was going through and experiencing G-forces, etc., etc. I thought, is he just going to come off as annoying? Because the first trailer I watched, which was the only trailer I watched, I was like, not too sure if they're going to make him too likable in the end. Is he going to be like an annoying gamer? I thought that Archie, the guy that played him, I thought he did well. I'm not going to say it was an outstanding performance and I predict an Oscar, but I think he did okay. What was your take?
Yeah, no, I think he did well. I think which because he played, I don't know Jann, the
real life guy, Jann Mardenborough.
Yeah, I don't know him, so I don't know how well the caricature kind of comes off. But he plays a nice he plays a very like nice character in the sense that you can tell that he comes from humble beginnings and then kind of starts going kind of into the kind of more kind of racing kind of celebrityness of it, but enjoying it. It's not a kind of like he becomes an asshole or anything like that. But he did well. His chemistry though with another actor, David Harbour, who plays Jack
I think we can
Salter.
talk about him next.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Yeah, so David Harbour, who plays Jack Salter, who's the head engineer of the team. Their chemistry is really, really good.
Yeah.
They're like, David Harbour's just going to be a good character, no matter what.
I think we can go ahead and not bury the lead on it. David Harbour is easily for me the best thing about this movie. I think he is the turbo on their engine. He is the absolute fuel that keeps this thing going. And it's his throwaway performance. It's like he was just told, act like you don't care what happens next with your lines, and he delivered every line with, well, not every line, some of the script was quite cringy in places, but he actually elevated the content way beyond what it deserved in some places and way beyond what I thought it could in other places.
Yeah, his chemistry with Jann is very good. It does elevate, which because Archie's kind of acting even more. David Harbour brings just David Harbour-ness to the role quite well. Which an interesting thing. When he was approached first, he didn't want to do it.
I can see why. Car racing video game movie.
That's the thing. He was just like, it's very hard to break the shell of the video game kind of genre. So he was and it isn't until he read the script that he was just like, oh, this is an underdog. It's more of a racing kind of. It has Gran Turismo in it, but it is more kind of has more kind of racing DNA in it. So he joined it, which you can tell that he plays the character quite well because it's a real person, like or at least it's an amalgamation of real people. Possibly, I don't know if Jack Salter is a real person.
Well, he's one of and his performance is great. I hope people see this movie. I don't think we're going to be telling them at the end of this to expect the world. I think it's worth seeing, but it's good. It's okay. It's not bad. There's the range of where I exist on it, Paul, and I think that's damning praise as it sounds. But David Harbour's performance is one of the things that makes me give it any sort of good. If he hadn't been there and he hadn't pulled off what he pulled off, I would be giving this film a thumbs down.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because essentially it's the trio at the top, which is Archie and which is David, and then there's also Orlando Bloom who's coming up. If it wasn't for the fact that David Harbour's portrayal of his character was very good, Archie's character was very good as well, but he was elevated more by the people around him. Orlando Bloom, I don't know if we want to go to that.
I think we want to go to Orlando Bloom because, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that if I just gave David Harbour all the praise you could imagine, then just consider my thoughts on Orlando Bloom's performance as the exact opposite. It seemed like a man who had been given drugs, and when I say drugs, I'm thinking laxative maybe, and he looks at all times, he's pulling gurney faces like he's just had an uncomfortable fart and he thinks he's about to crap his pants, or he just has and he's smugly sitting in it. His line deliveries are weird. His big face pulling is weird. He took me out of the movie every time he showed up, Paul. Literally every time he was on screen. I don't know what that was. And this is not personal to Orlando Bloom. It's this performance. Orlando, I'm sure you're a lovely guy. I've enjoyed you in many other things. What the hell was that?
Yeah, in teaser, the I think the film magazine, they interviewed him, and he said, "I'm really excited that I get to portray passion in a film." And I was just like, "That's not a character. That's an element of a character. Don't just be passion."
Yeah.
Because when I read that, I was just like, okay. So he literally just read the script and was just like, I just need to be passionate. And it's like, no, he plays Danny Moore, who's a marketer for Nissan. That's his character.
Yeah.
He's very excited about the GT Academy. He's very excited about bringing, gamers into
Which is
into
all
the
true
world.
to the best of my knowledge. It's based on a real Nissan marketing executive. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not what I saw. I just saw what I saw passion on coke. That's what I saw.
There you go.
Like,
coke is a better drug than laxatives, I guess, when it comes to describing a performance. But either way, not praise. And Paul, I'm going to put you in a situation. Close your eyes and imagine someone's going to play you in a movie, and they say, we're going to get the famously attractive Orlando Bloom to play you. You're thinking, all right, nice.
I am also very attractive, so I can see why you chose
like perfect casting. Perfect casting. It's just a question of whether or not he is attractive enough. But then you go and see the movie, and that very attractive person seems like they're having what can only be called a Skittles and Coca-Cola fueled meltdown, and delivering every line like Jeremy Clarkson. Oh, you're going to be the best sim racers in the world, and we're going to do this. Wow. You would be like, oh, I wish they'd chosen an ugly person and asked them to act well as my legacy of my real life story.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, he really does come off as kind of, and this is the thing is, we don't know if like Danny Moore is like this. He could be just that excitable and that kind of like he is. And Orlando Bloom in this film has the energy of a puppy who's about to pee on the carpet because it's so excited to see you.
That's guiltily holding it in or something too, because there's a sinister. That's why it's like, is he holding in a poop or a fart? The faces he's pulling are really like. It's weird.
Yeah, he's also like he's betrayed as a weird kind of like he flip flops a lot.
Yeah,
in the sense that they didn't also know. It felt like they didn't know where they were going to go with the character, and says, was he going to be the villain of the team, or was he going to be the kind of reluctant friend or something like that, which was a very confusing flip-floppy moment, because there's several moments in the film where it seems like, oh, he is the kind of like dickheadish marketing guy who's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter if these guys are actually good, we just need a star. Kind of thing. And you're just like, ooh, is he? And then it's later on he's just like, I'm and then he's just like, yeah, I'm a true believer. And you're just like, where was that scene? Where's the scene where he sat down with Jann and was just like, look, I didn't believe that you could do it. Like the interview stuff, like this, the press ready stuff was not great, but I can really see where you're coming from, what your passion is. Like, where was that conversation?
I saw you out there on track today, and you made me a believer. Or as he would have delivered it, I saw you out there on track today, and you made me a believer. You better not. It's creepy. Like, I know we're kicking the crap out of Orlando Bloom's performance, but again, everybody, this is why I'm saying people should watch this movie. And if you're going to watch it and you're going to go to the cinema, go to IMAX. It's worth it, because Orlando Bloom's performance is terrible and worth seeing. David Harbour's performance is brilliant and worth seeing. And Archie Madekwe is like really, really good. You know, he's done a good job.
It's good chemistry with the other actors.
And as for the rest of the cast, Paul, like anybody that did well or badly, because Jaemon Honsu is in this, which people will recognize him from everything from. I think Amistad might have been his first big breakout role, if I'm remembering correctly. Forgive me if he wasn't in that, and I'm thinking of somebody else. But you know, he's been in Marvel in multiple roles at this stage, I think. And surprisingly, Jerry Halliwell, known to some people as Ginger Spice, was in this movie.
Yeah.
And that threw me. They played Jann Mardenborough's parents. And the bit that threw me was there was a point at and I'm again getting into slightly spoiler territory, but there's a few pictures around the house of the family. And I kept kind of going, why is Ginger Spice with the family? And then I realized, oh no, she's playing the mum.
Yeah. It's also a bit disturbing because on screen he's, which is Patrick showing that Jerry is also married to Christian Horner, who's the team principal of Red Bull. So it's a little bit of a confusion thing there. So
yeah, and Paul, I'd like to just say credit to Jerry Halliwell. They did not give the parents role, enough franchise through this. They were thrown in and out of the story. There wasn't really enough there. It was a bit of a tacked on family. We don't believe in you. We support you. It all comes around in the end. But I thought her performance, for as little of her as there was in the movie, in that section where the movie got really good, she had one job that she had to do. Sweet God, she did it well. All credit to Jerry Halliwell. And I mean that. I never thought I'd be saying that about a video game movie. If you'd asked me back when the Spice Girls came out, it's like, see that one that calls herself Ginger? Someday you're going to say that she carried off a wonderful emotional performance in one scene of a video game movie in the future. I wouldn't have believed it, but it's true.
Right now, we're going to go to an ad break, and we'll be back with more of a review of Gran Turismo.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. See you in a sec.
Before there was Stranger Things. Before there was Chris Pine. There was Homebrew Quest.
Hang on, that doesn't make any sense. Let me start again. YouTube is great for watching Hear Us Out, but what if you'd like a bit of D&D in your life? Homebrew Quest are a bunch of brilliantly creative Irish folks playing a homebrew Dungeons & Dragons campaign inspired by Irish mythology. But even more inspired by the brews they're drinking in each episode. Ireland's supposed to be the land of saints and scholars, but it's also got drinkers and YouTubers, one of which might look a tad familiar. So get yourself over to Homebrew Quest and join the adventure. Links in the description down below, or search term Homebrew Quest. Tell them Hear Us Out sent you. All right, everybody, we're back, and we've still got Christian Horner there, who wasn't in the film. Just in case anybody's wondering, nobody from the Formula One fraternity shows up. But yes, as Paul correctly points out, the reason it shows that picture is Jerry Halliwell was not just a Spice Girl. She's currently the partner of somebody involved at a very high level in running currently the most successful Formula One team in the world. So she knows some stuff about cars, and it would have actually been useful to have her on set. So nice bit of casting there, because it did. For me, she didn't let herself down. The script and the amount of time that those relationships had kind of let that family part down.
Yeah, no, agreed. Which is, I looked at some reports about the filming of Gran Turismo, and it turns out that a lot of the physical stuff, a lot of the car racing kind of scenes and everything were all done at the later half of it, and a lot of the drama side of it done was at the start. So I'm wondering if, because there is a little bit more energy it feels like there's pockets of energy within the film.
Yeah.
And it feels like the drama parts were when the AO had a lot of energy with this film, and then as it went on, especially when they got to the more physicality kind of parts, they were kind of just like, oh, we have to do this now. I have to get into a car kind of thing, or I have to watch, pit changes and stuff. Which is sad, because the drama was really good, and it seemed like their certain relationships could have done with more. A little bit kind of fleshing out a little bit more. There's parts that you could definitely take out of this, kind of a little bit more, to give that space as well if you wanted to keep the same runtime. But...
Yeah. And being honest, tacking in the family doesn't believe in you, the family does, but dad doesn't believe in me, dad now believes in me, and they have the dad moment. Tacking that on when the David Harbour, as you've already mentioned, the David Harbour relationship, that mentor relationship, had already done enough of that. It kind of cluttered up the movie where it was already having a problem with clutter. So, yeah. Paul, can I give a little honourable mention to one of our own, another YouTuber out there? Amelia Hartford is in this movie. It may mean nothing to most of you, but to car YouTube people such as myself, it means something. She can drive, she can build, and as it turns out, she can act. She was part of the cast for the GT Academy, so the other people that were up against our protagonist for that seat. And you know what? She got a wee bit of screen time, but the bit of screen time she did get, she's an actress. Like, she is an actual actress as well, on top of everything else. I thought she did herself and everyone else proud. So it's always nice when I see somebody who can act, but who can also reassemble a V8 does well. So I'm quite happy for her.
Yeah, it was. She played an interesting character, which then returns as well as kind of more support kind of thing, which is very nice. Yeah. So, Patrick, if you had to do an overall synapse, kind of, I guess, a short form kind of thing of overall the film and stuff, what would you say?
I would say my biggest issues with this movie, other than Orlando Bloom's performance, the racing scenes are suitably epic. They're quite well shot. Too much shaky cam for my liking, but the real problems are they tried to cover too much ground at the expense of actually making a better movie. And I think they were also simultaneously aiming it squarely at car people, while also aiming it squarely at gamers, as in people who know Gran Turismo, and aiming it also at, hey, did you like Rocky? Do you like underdog stories? And you cannot do that successfully. And I don't think they did. So this movie, if it had picked one of those three lanes, I actually think it would have really kicked ass. Any one of those three, I think it would have been a better movie. And like we've both mentioned, that one brilliant section in it shows that this could have been, I could be talking about this as being as good as Rush or as good as Ford v Ferrari or Le Mans 66.
Yeah. Like,
what about you, Paul?
I have to mirror that. There's a lot of good in this film that's enjoyable to watch. A lot of the actors are very good. The chemistry is really good, as we said before. It does feel like there's a better film there. That's the downside. It feels like there's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think the scatter shot of kind of going, well, we want people who like video games like Gran Turismo, the Gran Turismo crowd, and the racing crowd. But we also want to make it kind of more accessible to the kind of average viewer. It's just like, even if they just removed the average viewer part, this film would have been way better. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing is, I think removing even just that one kind of like, we need to make sure that, people who aren't video gamers or racers can enjoy this story of like, this person who aspires to being like, a racing driver, which is underdog story. I think if they just didn't focus on that group at all, we could like, because that's the thing is, that's actually probably, it didn't respect the third audience member.
Yeah.
That's what I
gotcha.
I think it didn't. So racers are respected, but not enough. Like Gran Turismo, like, gamer people, it respected but not enough. And then it didn't respect essentially the third audience member, just being that average person to be able to get into the story. So I think there's
and that's
a big
the thing.
downfall for us.
I think this will connect with some people massively. The underdog story, the dream, the game to reality, the living the dream thing. I think this will connect with a lot of people, and a lot of people will end up loving it. And I don't think they'll be wrong. I think a lot of people will watch this movie and see a bit of a mess of a movie and be disappointed, and I don't think they'll be wrong either. But Paul, now I'm going to ask you the dodgy, difficult question. There's something that we talked about after we left the cinema seeing it. I wish they hadn't called it Gran Turismo, because I wish they'd made a Gran Turismo movie, and then they could have made this one, as in real life racer, dream to reality, whatever, a Gran Turismo story or whatever. Because, and spoiler warning, at the very start of this movie, they hint and show a very small section about the inception of the Gran Turismo game. And that's kind of the story that I wanted. I wanted, and I'm gonna look at his name so I try and pronounce it slightly better than the usual, Kazunori Yamauchi.
Yeah,
that's the powerhouse, the dream, the guy that really pushed, and is the grandfather, the father of the Gran Turismo franchise, the game. And I think for both car people and gamers, there is a Gran Turismo game story that could have been told. And then you could easily tell the Jann Mardenborough, the GT Academy, the Nissan, the whatever one you want to class this current story, what they did, it could have been in under something else. But now we'll never get that Gran Turismo story. We'll never get that, what it took to make it, what it meant to people. I hope somebody makes a really good dramatized documentary at some stage about Gran Turismo, and we get the movie that I would have liked to have been called Gran Turismo. What about you? What was your take on the movie they could have made?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, there's two really good movies in there, which is the Inception and the Drive to Perfection to simulate driving experience into a game that which was which he had such an obsession with, and then having this kind of rise to glory Jann story, I think could have been really good. But I think that they just merged the two too much and kind of that's why I would say this overall movie to me is just a middling movie. You'll enjoy it, you'll enjoy parts of it in the cinema and stuff like that, but it's if you're going to the cinema to watch it, go to IMAX as Patrick said. If you're not, you'll enjoy it when it comes up on any streaming service and stuff like that. It's an enjoyable watch, but it's not going to win any Emmys. It's not going to win any BAFTAs. It's not going to win any. It might win some production stuff, but little, like not possibly the major kind of ones. Just with the drone and Tesla car that they use to kind of film all the racing and stuff like that. Yeah, but nothing else.
And Paul, I think now is the time when we say to everybody, here's how it could have worked if you take inspiration from the ultimate, the quintessential video game to dream reality. So actually we should, you know what, Paul, we'll check the comments. I asked a question earlier on, and I think we've ignored the live commenters. People watching this later on in repeat or watching on YouTube still want your comments down below. We read every single one. But we've got... Sorry, go for it.
It's which game you wanted to go into as a kind of like dream kind of thing. Do you want to be League of Legends, be one of the heroes or something like that, or Valorant or...
Yeah. Well, what I'm seeing here is Brian wants to be a Premier League manager, and knowing how good he is at that game and how practiced he is, I think it's a fair shout. So Liverpool, if you're looking for somebody, or maybe somebody lower down the leagues, I don't know. Brian, you can put in the comments which team you think is at your level now. Wrexham possibly are too famous for you.
Wrexham, like...
Yeah, there you go.
Get in with Ryan Reynolds and which is your man. I can't remember his name.
Rob
get in with them.
McElhenney.
Rob McElhenney. Yeah. So get in with them. Yeah. Then you can introduce us. This is all a plan, bro.
You know what? I still do want to meet Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney actually, because they've bought into a Formula One team. Yay. Ben says it's
the Kirby movie would be great.
And you know what? There will be a Kirby movie because Mario made enough money. I think Kirby will get a shot.
I don't even care if it's a good movie. I want to go to the 4D version of that. That would be amazing. Literally, just like they would have to add extra fans to just really get the feeling of Kirby going into his kind of like suck mode kind of thing.
But I'm slightly worried that Ben C answered the question with Dragon Ball Z. To say, you know, what game did you play that you wanted to end up? I'm like, okay, you know what, you're a fun guy to have a drink with. Actually, I want to talk more about that. But then he says, or more honestly, love playing NBA games while also playing basketball over the summer. Completely get that. I'm not able to ice skate at all, but I played NHL for a while on console, and I really wanted to get out there and become a real life hockey player until I realized I am physically just too scared of people who can skate and do want to hurt each other. So NBA is a good call.
I'm trying to remember that game. God, I can't remember the car football game. People know what I'm talking about.
Rocket League was originally called something else. Yeah,
we can have Patrick as our driver. And we can have Brew as our manager.
We
go. And I can just be some gruffy old man who's
Oh,
just
you can
like,
be
I told
like the
I
owner.
told him he could do it.
You can be the one that didn't believe at the start, but then at the end is like, I believe in you.
Somehow get through security and get into your room and just be like, I believe in you. And it's like, where have you been?
Or Paul, could you be the person that comes down from space? Because it's time. If Gran Turismo had watched, if Neill Blomkamp and everybody involved had watched The Last Starfighter, they would have seen the ultimate quintessential movie that takes the idea of playing a video game, being good at it, and then going on to experience that in real life and succeed.
Yeah, the awe-inspiring dream of doing what you love, getting out there, which is and making something of yourself kind of story. This Last Starfighter is a channel favorite of ours.
Oh gosh,
simply because it's a very good underdog to dream story kind of thing, and we have to say that between Gran Turismo, it definitely and the Last Starfighter. Last Starfighter definitely has that emotional feeling of achieving that goal a lot better.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the thing. Gran Turismo tries to use the same tricks as the Last Starfighter, but just fails.
Yeah.
So like,
and that's the key thing. It's where it went right that Gran Turismo went wrong. It didn't. It overstuffed plots in a few weird and funny and funky ways, and its sci-fi-ness. But its core story, you weren't as distracted by, like, the relationship with David Harbour, as great as it is between chief engineer and driver in Gran Turismo. The relationship, and actually I have a picture of the equivalent in Last Starfighter. You have the guy with the best laugh in TV history, the lizard-headed dude whose name has escaped me now. By the way, we have done. Oh, you remembered.
Santara is the character. He's played by Robert Preston. I have a list of all the cast.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you'd remembered, because everybody linked above is our Last Starfighter rapid review. So all you need to know about Last Starfighter in less than 10 minutes. But it's that relationship really worked. And there's something that worked really well in both films. But when it came to the end, the ultimate victory had to feel like it was the Last Starfighter's ultimate victory. Whereas Gran Turismo, as much as they made it the Jann Mardenborough story, they were also all the way along. They were like, and look how great, Sony and PlayStation did, and look how great Nissan and Nissan marketing did. And in the end, it was a triumphant, everybody won, and we proved all the doubters wrong on every level. They needed to be more selfish, and they needed to ape that kind of actual hero's journey where there is the one big triumphant hero in the end.
Yeah, there's a moment in Last Starfighter, which I think we talk about, which is Alec has been brought home. He's kind of like had enough and stuff like that. He's been brought home, and as he gets home and stuff like that, he there's a kind of an inspiring moment of kind of looking out into the stars and kind of like realizing that he's kind of he may have just given up his chance kind of thing, and that all he needs to do is be brave enough to grab us and stuff like that. It's a very kind of emotional moment, because I think it connects a lot with the audience of saying, like, but obviously like connects with our story of kind of like, seeing our chance at something great that we really want, and we just need to be brave enough to grab it kind of thing. Whereas Gran Turismo, there's no moment that kind of like can come to mind that really shows that kind of thing. It never connects emotionally to you. They are very much trying to establish the fact that Jann is meant to be there.
Yeah.
Because he's like talented enough and stuff like that. There's no full emotional connection with the audience of kind of that's his dream kind of thing, which is a big thing.
And again, without spoiling, it's because they quite rightly, and when you watch the film, you'll know, they quite rightly channel that emotion into another event and the repercussions of that event. So they never quite get to have the moment you're talking about. They have it in a different way for a different reason. And you're right, that means that it's intertwined with something else that is, again, the highest point in this movie, and it's dealt with really, really well in the movie. But my gosh, yeah, you're right. I hadn't actually thought of that till you just said it. But here's the thing: is GT the Last Starfighter with cars? No. Gran Turismo was an actual real life story. That's why you have some actual real life tragedy and really frightening stuff. But while they were taking liberties, they could have cut out a lot of the movie that they made and really looked at that Starfighter template and had more than one emotional beat. So, like you're saying, they could have had the actual hero's journey where he hit the big challenge, but then had the full separate him doubting himself section of the movie. They rolled all that up into one, and I think that shortchanged themselves too much in too little time.
Yeah, so the moment that we're talking about, obviously no spoilers and stuff, is a very emotional moment. The thing is that in the hero's journey, you have kind of the start, which is the aspiring start to be the hero kind of thing. They always want, and it's not even to be the hero; it's just a wanting to be something more kind of thing, and connecting to that character. At that point, you get to instill yourself into the movie, into the story and stuff like that. You get to see yourself along the hero's journey kind of thing, which would have made that moment in the film the kind of like heroes like fall kind of moment way more impactful, way more kind of like, it's really really impactful. But that could have been one of the greatest moments in movie history if they had done the original movie, the original kind of emotional connection with kind of instilling the audience into the character kind of thing. And we know that it's a real person, but you can still do that on an emotional level. We'll kind of connect with others and the dream of achieving your goals, kind of thing. So,
which, you know,
that's where
sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say that's where Last Starfighter, excels. It excels in connecting with the character, connecting with the audience on an emotional level of going through that hero's journey. That means that every impactful moment of kind of the fall and rise and everything like that, you love it. Whereas, it hits you, that part in Gran Turismo Auto hits you like a hammer, but it's the wrong beat in the sense that it's like, shit, the movie got really good.
Yeah. Like,
where was this emotion coming from? Kind of thing, rather than, oh no, Jann,
Yeah, exactly. And Paul, that's what I'm moving us back towards wrap up because we are running closer to time. But I want to say that Starfighter is worth watching. And Last Starfighter was considered a flop, as in it didn't make all the money in the world. Gran Turismo is not going to make Barbie money. It's not going to make Mario money. And we're not giving it the most glowing of reviews. But since watching it, I've softened on it quite a bit. There's there is some great cinematography. There's some great performances, some absolutely terrible performances.
Yeah.
It is a case of what could have been. Yeah. But if you're stuck to watch something in the future, Gran Turismo is not one of those movies I'd say, never watch it, which an awful lot of video game movies are. So on the video game movie scale, to kind of head towards wrap up, Paul, I think if you just rank it against other video game movies, it actually has done quite well.
It is done quite middling, which is sadly where the majority of the gaming movie genre is, kind of thing. I think David Harbour's fear of not being able to crack the gaming movie shell happened, which
still
is
intact.
sad. Yeah, but I will say that it is no way near the bottom. It's nowhere near the bottom of the list of gaming adaptations in any way. That is definitely owned by Assassin's Creed.
So the people in the comments, let us know if you're actually going to watch this movie based on what we've said, or if you've just decided, you know what, it's never going to be worth my time. And I have never watched Assassin's Creed because of what Paul has just said, by the way, because there's one of those ones when I say, how's this in the grand scheme of movies, this is middling at best. In the grand scheme of video game movies, I'd say that it gets into the top half because there are so many terrible video game movies that are just awful. Uwe Ball made half of them. It's it's not a curse that's been lifted. Mario is, which I still haven't seen, but Mario's a blip so far. I don't think the year of video game and toy movies that 2023 might look like on paper, I don't think that it's really coming to pass.
I don't think Gran Turismo is joining the successes in the gaming / toy kind of thing of this year. So
no,
which is sad.
Exactly. And Brew says chances are slim. Well, I say You're not going to kill yourself for not seeing this. You're not really doing yourself that big a service. So I'm telling people to watch it in one hand, Paul, but when people say I'm not going to bother, I'm like, yeah, fair enough then. That's kind of where this movie lands.
I would watch it on streaming, and it would definitely be a member of the game movie adaptations kind of marathon that I would do. It would definitely be one of those. It would definitely be in between two really good movies of the gaming adaptation thing, but it's obviously left an impression with that moment on us. So there's also that. Remember, there is a moment that both me and Patrick has not spoiled and have loved,
and is worth seeing the movie just for that moment, to be honest. So I'd like to take this moment to say thanks to all our watchers, listeners, viewers, however you categorize yourself is fine with us. But also big shout out to all the gamers out there, all the dreamers out there, all the men and women of motorsport and the car community in general that aren't massively represented in movies, Paul. It's rare that I get to talk about something that has four wheels in the cinema that isn't throwing back to like Burt Reynolds. So it's good for me. This is great. It's not Fast and the Furious at all. It's an actual motorsport movie. It may not be perfect, but I'm glad to see it's there. I'm glad that every few years we get something. So for that, I'm grateful. And to everybody out there that puts their lives on the line to entertain or follow a dream, I say fair play to you. And with that, Paul, I'll let you walk us out.
I definitely agree. Some little trivia. Jann plays his own stunt double in this film, the actual race driver, which is a nice little kind of thing of, since Patrick was saying, nice to see you know, all the people taking this seriously. Awesome, so actually. Comment down below if what game you would choose. Comment down also below if you're going to watch this film. And thank you very much. I've been Paul.
I've been Patrick.
And we've been Hear Us Out. See you next
time.
week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.